We really need to talk. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I got my review of Marvel Studios' Echo. All 5 episodes are now streaming on both Disney Plus and Hulu. This is the latest MCU Disney Plus television series. And before I give you guys my thoughts on Echo, be sure to hit that like button and comment down below your thoughts on this show. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. We have a blast with it over there. So before I begin this review, I gotta mention how this show in a way went through production hell. There was one point in time where it was rumored to be 8 episodes, then 6 episodes, eventually it became 5 episodes. It was going to have a week-to-week release at one point, I want to say, and then it got dropped to all episodes dropping at once. And it's kind of been in the works ever since Hawkeye came out back in 2021, so this show's been through the ringer before it ever even dropped, and I've got a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to start with the pros before I get into my cons. So Echo follows Maya Lopez's character after the events of Hawkeye and kind of gives us a background on her, and the casting is perfect. Alaqua Cox, who plays Maya Lopez, is born to play this role. She herself is deaf, just like Echo. She is an amputee, just like Echo. And she's Native American, just like Echo. So she, no joke, was born to play this role and does a great job of doing so. She's able to convey certain emotions just through her facial expressions, and you buy into her in this role. There's a really neat creative choice made with the sound design in particular, where some intense scene will be going down and then the camera will pan over to Maya's point of view, and we as the audience will hear what she hears, which is nothing. And that allows for us to really feel where she's coming from and view these events through her point of view. And anytime a scene did that, I thought it was really effective. On top of that, there are some riveting scenes involving Maya, notably one on a train. I thought that sequence was thrill-inducing and the clear standout of the show to me personally. Honestly, never thought we would see the day where Echo would be headlining a project. There's a deaf Marvel character at the forefront here, and that's really cool. In fact, I think it's awesome that the MCU over all these years has been able to have so many different outlets in terms of main characters. You've obviously got Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, but over the years you've had the Guardians, Eternals, characters like Echo and Miss Marvel getting their time to shine, so it's really neat to see the progression of who headlines MCU projects over the years. It's ever expanding, and I'm sure the MCU will keep on going in terms of allowing everyone to see themselves represented on screen. But if I'm being completely honest here, this show is a big miss from the MCU. In fact, the entire thing feels extremely rushed, so much so that it might just be the most rushed MCU project to date. And I don't just say that to be dramatic. In fact, the entire first episode uses multiple scenes from Hawkeye. They're almost repurposed to fit into this narrative, and because of that, it felt like one prolonged previously on. For about 30 minutes of episode 1, I was just like, we've seen this before. Why is this being thrown into the episode? It was a very bizarre choice. Like the first episode tries to paint the picture of Maya's life prior to us being introduced to her and Hawkeye, and certain relationships, notably with her mother and grandmother, feel really surface level early on, but more importantly, they rush through defining moments in Maya's life, like truly tragic moments that will alter the course of Maya Lopez's life forever, feel like an afterthought because they happen so quickly, and then we abruptly move on and have a time jump that it's like, wow, there was really no time to marinate with the consequences of this event, which was frustrating as a viewer because you wanted to be able to connect to Maya, but because of the script and the way the episode flowed, it was almost impossible. Like, for those who went into this show without refreshing on Hawkeye or even watching Hawkeye, we're probably lost because it just reuses scenes from Hawkeye, and even the insertion of them and the inclusion of these scenes in this show feel out of place in a way because it's material we've already seen, and it was like we were just rehashing something we already knew. So if you're going to include it, you might as well go all out, but it just glosses by another important death in Maya's life. All of these things added up to make it really difficult to connect with Maya. The actress was doing the best she could to try and convey these emotions, and she did her best, but the writing wasn't there, and it just felt awkward at times. Now, the elephant in the room here is Kingpin. He's obviously the big bad villain of the show, but he really just feels shoehorned in here to set up something greater within the street level side of the MCU. A lot of his scenes are just flashbacks to when Maya was younger or scenes we'd previously seen in Hawkeye, and it's It's wild how quickly he comes in and out of the picture here. Like, Kingpin's inclusion feels like it's just here to be like, Kingpin's still around, guys. The Daredevil Netflix world is canon. All those shows are canon. We have to remind you and kind of prove that, and now we can go use Kingpin in whatever we want. This was almost the launching point for him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, we got him in Hawkeye, and fans weren't crazy about that, so maybe going a little bit of a darker route with this character here was trying to wash the bad taste out of fans' mouths and give us more of a brooding, physical Kingpin, but even then, he doesn't feel really utilized here. And there's a point in this show with Kingpin where I was just like, that's it? We're not going to use him anymore? What was the point of even having him here? And if I'm saying that about Kingpin, you can assume Daredevil has even less of a role, and that is 100% the case here. Daredevil was used as a marketing ploy to be like, guys, look, Daredevil's back, come watch the show. They did the same thing with She-Hulk, and it's frustrating because the show is not about Daredevil, it's not about Kingpin, it's about Echo, and this show is literally called Echo, so it should focus on that character. But when you dangle Daredevil in front of our face like a pair of keys or some candy to a baby, we're gonna be expecting Daredevil. And the fact that we only get him in maybe 6 minutes, maybe, that's being generous, I'd call it 3 tops, it's frustrating. It's almost like Daredevil's scene in this show is to be like, guys, look, Daredevil was around at this time in the MCU, so Daredevil's canon. Like, again, Daredevil and Kingpin's inclusion in this, I feel, was a soft launch for them in the MCU. We know they're in No Way Home, we know they're in Hawkeye, but a soft relaunch into a bit of a darker version, trying to really be like, hey, look, their Netflix show, it's canon. Come on, we're pushing this on you guys. Go watch these shows if you haven't. That's what it felt like to me more than anything, and I love the Daredevil show. Punisher is actually my favorite of the Netflix shows for Marvel, but I was just really like, come on, we're just doing this to blatantly canonize them and not care about the story of Echo itself. Like, what is the plot of this show? Kingpin gets shoehorned in here. You got Daredevil briefly, then you've got all these flashbacks connecting to Maya's ancestors. There was a lot to take in here, and it just felt unfocused and messy at the end of the day. Echo just felt so strung together at the last second in a desperate attempt to be like, hey guys, look, we've got a TVMA gritty show and we're gonna throw it at you, you better watch it. Bouncing off that, the TVMA rating was 1,000,000% a gimmick for marketing, and the writing was on the wall. I almost feel ignorant after having seen the show to buy into the hype. I was like, oh my gosh, TVMA in the MCU, let's do this thing. The marketing made it look gritty, made it look bloody, and made it look like tonally the same as the Daredevil Netflix show. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, we were straight up lied to. In my heart of hearts, I firmly believe that something had to happen behind the scenes for Disney to be like, hey look, you guys will rate this TVMA or else. Because there's no need for it to have a mature rating. I can count on my hand the number of shots in this show that remotely warrant a TVMA rating, and all it was they added more CGI blood than normal for the MCU. It was clearly a gimmick to try and garner more views. I don't know if that's gonna pan out for them or not. I haven't seen the numbers for Echo, but once word of mouth spreads that this is like any other MCU Disney Plus show tonally and it plays it safe, people probably won't care to tune in. So while I can appreciate the representation and the fact that the MCU is trying to tell a new story here, it feels so choppy. It's almost like they put 8 episodes worth of content into a salad bowl and stirred it up and hoped for the best, and they were like, yeah, this'll work. Undoubtedly, the show should have been longer. It feels like portions of this story were chopped out just to meet a 5-episode mandate. And honestly, there wasn't much of a story to tell here in general. I question what happened. I feel like I wasted my time watching this show. Like, I guess there was a little bit of development on the family side of things, but Kingpin's involvement feels really irrelevant, and the overall show's structure was wacky. I don't know why this happened. I almost feel like Echo was this idea that was conceived prior to Disney switching back over to Bob Iger as CEO, and then he came on board and realized we need to make just cuts across the board, and so they were stuck with what they had filmed for Echo, and then they watched it and they were like, we really don't know what to do with this. So they were like, make it 5 episodes and throw it out there and let's just hope for the best. We can use it to launch Daredevil Born Again with Kingpin and with Daredevil. I give every MCU show a shot, and I wanted to love this, trust me. But the way this show was put together was jarring from the start, left me unsatisfied as a viewer, and I questioned its existence as the credits were rolling. We got a post-credit scene that made it evident this show was just put out to set up the street-level MCU content. At the end of the day, Echo's pretty unmemorable, and I will forget about this show in no time. It's unfortunate, but I think it's in contention for outright weakest MCU Disney Plus show. Kind of a downer, unfortunately, but what do you guys think of this show? Let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It means a lot, and stay tuned for more content coming very soon. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.